Well, that, I am sorry, we're late, but we had stuff to do. Manager McGill, would like to start us off.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just quickly run through the agenda items for tonight's commission meeting. There are a lot of them, but that is typical for the last meeting of the year. We will have a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance concerning the municipality's 2025 budget. We'll have a consideration of an ordinance fixing the tax rate for the year 2025. It's 4.5 mils, same as last year. Consideration of an ordinance amending the 2024 budget for revenue and expenditures not anticipated in the 2024 budget. We've covered that in the last two meetings. Consideration of an ordinance establishing compensation for employees in 2025. Consideration of a resolution designated a depository for the funds of Mount Lebanon. This is for all of our primary banking activities. And then consideration of a resolution to designate a depository for the funds of Mount Lebanon. This is mainly for the treasurer's account and petty cash. Consideration of a resolution establishing employee contributions to the pension plans for 2025. Consideration of a resolution adopting the capital improvement program for the years 2025 to 2029. Consideration of a resolution adopting the 2025 comprehensive fee schedule. Consideration and adoption of a resolution for a GROW grant application. This is a reimbursement application. It's for work that was previously completed on Hope Hollow. Consideration of an appointment to the library board to fill an unexpired term. Consideration of a reappointment to the hospital authority board, and then consideration for the rejection of a bid for the Mount Lebanon Pool Filtration Project, which is a nice transition because that is our first item up on the discussion session.
Again?
We opened up some bids a few weeks ago. And the first up to discuss is the pool filtration bids, and just jump right into it. Just some basic information. As the commission knows, there was a decision to hustle to get the consultant hired, Councilman Hunsaker, who actually was the pool designer on the project. We assisted them with the bidding documents and trying to do some of the background work necessary to get the bids out. Everybody was successfully did that. We completed a pre-bid meeting. We issued addendums, and we did receive one bid. The one bid was from Shiloh Industrial Contractors. Their bid was 1.6 million. Not very good one. The estimate was 761,000. And we also received a second bid that came late. We didn't open the bid. We contacted the contractor, and he told us his bid was about 1.3 million. And that was also obviously over budget. So we didn't know or weren't able to understand what the market would do in terms of the compressed time frame to get this work done during the winter months, and to try to have the pool open. So essentially what you're doing is you're working in the bad weather and trying to hope that it gets better, as opposed to when you start this work in a September start, you know the work's pretty good and it's only going to get worse. So we feel that that was most of the issue. The second issue was specialized contract work and the limited number of bidders that can do that work. So Keith and David and I discussed that we should get together very quickly. We did, and we talked about the bids, and then we got together with Councilman and discussed how we could move forward with the project and what were the recommendations to go forward. And the first thing we were going to do was talk to the contractors about determining any cost savings that we could put into the bid. We would also rebid the contract for a 2025 start, which is definitely, that's where we have to go at this point in time. And then David had talked about some interim plans to keep the pool open and functioning properly during the 2025 season. I'll talk a little bit more about those items. And we feel that we can get this all together and basically get it back out for bid in 2025 in January. Because what you want to do is you want to get on these pool contractors lists. In some of the conversations that we have with Councilman, there are only a limited number of people that bid pool projects in Pennsylvania. Their dance card gets filled up very quickly. And that we want to do this to, get out early and get ready to go with a notice to proceed, which would be in September. They're jumping into sort of some of the interim measures that we talked about with David and some things that he thinks that it will assist the project in getting better, at least for the season. Installation of a new controller as it relates to the chlorine system. And also installing a liquid chlorine system. We think we can do that with opening up a wall, which would house future chlorine tanks. But in the interim, it could be used just to access the liquid chlorine. And then we would just do anything else we could do for the, in terms of other electrical work that would have to be done for the interim measures. David can talk about some other stuff that he has going on, pool leveling and other things like that. But after that, we need to get these things, or we think we can get these things out for a quote that would come in under the bid limit to get them completed by either Mainline or Aquapool. Somebody could do this stuff, so we would try to go out and get quotes on this work and actually make this happen before the opening of the 2025 season. Regarding the bids themselves and going back out in January again, we know that at least one of the contractors is on board already with the new schedule, Mainline. They were the ones that submitted their bid, I believe, late. And we're gonna talk to Aquapool and with Shiloh and see what they have to say. There's some other contractors out there that we asked Maddie from Councilman Huxman, I'll say that maybe hopefully to check with. And we're trying to gauge other potential bidders and really try to sell this project when we go out in January. Again, it's such a limited amount of people to bid it. It's really tough to get on their radar and make sure that they submit a competitive bid. One other thing that we talked about that we know was an expensive part of the rebid was the installation of a surge tank. So the surge tank, there is currently no surge tank on the pool, as I understand it, not being a pool designer. When people get in the pool, you have to have a place for the water to go. The people displace the water in the pool.
Right.
So you build a surge tank for that. Current standards, if you were building a new pool, requires 1 foot.
1 foot or 1 gallon per square foot of surface area.
Per square foot of surface area. So it turned into, so in the rush to get this out, it was the pool designer's decision to design this for the full Monty, which would be 100% of the pool.
Right.
To have this, and their reasoning behind it was sound because they felt that if anything would ever happen at the pool, you wouldn't want to have to rebuild the filtration system again. Let's say we put in a new tank for the pool and just take out the aluminum tank, put a precast tank in. If you would get a permit from the county health department who issues the permits, they would require this filtration system to adhere to those standards.
Sure.
So what it's doing is in the short term, it's putting a pinch on our bids, trying to get within the budget.
Surge tank is.
Yes, it's one of the items. So the discussion, and it was my idea was that, David's never had an issue with this right now. What we could do is we could address this with maybe a 50% of that size tank now. With the ability to add on to it in the future, would be one big item that we could talk about. And then finally, we have to get squared away and make sure we have good numbers on the electrical and know where we come back in with bid. So
What material is this, is the surge tank?
it would just be concrete.
Concrete?
Yeah, and the issue with that is concrete, if you can make it in precast and set it in
Yeah.
precast, always cheaper.
Yes.
But the problem here is getting a crane in to
be able
lift it,
pull
and
up.
be able to
Yeah,
put it
sure.
in, so they would have to form and pour
Form and
whatever
forge.
they do.
Takes
Now, we
much
did
work.
do geotechnical work to make sure that we weren't digging into the rock, because you don't want,
Or into a mine.
right, well, mostly rock is expensive.
Sure.
We don't somebody up there pounding on rock, which
Yeah.
is very expensive.
Yeah.
So the pool is 6 feet deep at its deepest to just stay on top, or the surge tank is only 6 feet.
As
At
deep as.
its deepest point to deal with the rock issue, so. But I think if we improve that part of it, and what I suggested was bid it at, if the county says that they would approve us at a 50%. We
Yeah.
could bid it with 100% capacity and then have a deduct alternate for 50%.
50%.
To at least give us any
Yeah.
sort of, an ability to adjust the bids when they come back.
Where does the water go now, David? If
Well,
it
we
surges
do
out?
have a
Gutter system.
vacuum, well, the gutter system takes some of it. Get up there.
Okay. Just trying to get them closer.
Sorry, so in our system right now, the gutters take some of it. And then because we have a vacuum DE filter, it's like a 10,000 gallon bathtub that houses the filter itself.
Mhm.
So it can take some water too, but our surge capacity is very, very limited. So the tank would definitely be an improvement and help us on that. We'd get better surface skimming, which would help with water clarity. And just to further expand on what Dan was saying, what we're talking about is if we do that 50% capacity, it would have capped lines that could connect to
Sure,
another
tank,
50
sure.
down the road
Yeah.
if we needed to like reconstruct the pool and we wanted 100% capacity. And it's also possible, like I think Dan's idea gives us the best of both worlds.
Sure.
If it's not that much more expensive to go 100, you just get that taken care of up front, and then you've got full capacity moving forward.
And then, I don't think it states it so clearly here, but at least for our vast TV audience, when we level the floor of the pool, then the vacuums work, which will also help the clarity.
Yeah, the automatic vacuums, we're getting stuck on the deformed pool floor bottom. So we've had contractors come out there about 50% complete cutting and welding.
Oh, good.
They need about 4 more days of good weather. They can't do it when it's cold and wet.
Right,
So
sure.
hopefully we get a little streak of warm weather. They've been monitoring the weather pretty closely and communicating very well, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But like all pool contractors, when the weather gets warm in the spring, I mean, I don't wanna lose them. I wanna
Right, sure.
stay on the radar, so we need some warm winter days.
What was warm enough for them?
I mean, I think just dry and above freezing will be okay. If there's constant water in the bottom of the pool and it's snowing and raining, it's very difficult to get
Well.
things done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so just to sort of close that loop. Idea to go back out in January with a September start once the pool's closed.
Right,
The interim steps with pulling some things out of that bid to hopefully improve water quality, and then and David and Tim did an excellent job last year in terms of we'll monitor bather load and see if there's a tipping point at which it creates the situation where you have body water, can't see the bottom of the pool, and we're forced to close, so. But at least we have a plan and a path forward, so.
at minimum, I think we can install a new chemical controller. And just
Right.
being ours was acting up all last season. Just having very precise control of those chemicals automated will be a big step forward. Liquid chlorine, if we can pull that off by penetrating through the wall and getting some larger storage tanks into the room, are too big to get through like the regular man door. Also would lend itself to clearer water. And I can also look at maybe something a little larger filtration, like the supplemental that I installed last summer. See if we could get something a little bit bigger there to help us out too. So we will do everything we can to get in front of it and, do our best to keep it, looking clear and good.
I think we have a good plan.
Yeah, I think you do. I think it sounds good. Nothing's perfect. Good plan.
We'll do our best.
Yes. Great. Any other questions from commission members? No. All right, sure. Thanks, David. You're still up. These are up.
Every once in a while, we like to give you good news, so.
I know.
Good news.
There we- Okay, the good news portion of the
Good
meeting.
news for this is the second part. Bring again.
Everything's under budget. Or the rest.
Sewer's my favorite.
Yeah, so, so good news on the, 5 projects that we took bids on, for sewers. This is the difference between, you know, when you have a lot of contractors in the market that are geared up for doing the work that we're doing
Right.
related to the consent order versus a pool, which is a very specialized thing. So it's just a really, you know, you can see the difference. So just in terms of, you know, the contracts, just to recap. To recap the bids that we took, from the O and M operation and maintenance side of our work that we do annually on this, on the sanitary sewer and the storm sewers. We took bids for televising and cleaning. We took bids for, point repairs, which are basically excavations when we find something that we can't do, through lining or some other method, to rip up somebody's backyard. And then finally, on the O and M side, we took the, lining, which is actually the lining where we don't do the dig and we, are able to get our systems really a new pipe within the old pipe and give us that length of time. Then on the consent order, pleased to report that the, you know, we got the corrective action repairs in. This would be the gold line, the second gold line standard project. We got good numbers in on that. And then the Begg Snyder project, which is totally grant funded. That was the last one that we got in. So, with no further ado, as it relates to the, O and M contracts, storm sewer and sanitary sewer televising and cleaning. Robinson was the low bidder on this. We had a total of 5 bidders. And, we like Robinson. They've worked for us consistently on manholes over the past several years. They gave us a base bid of, $377,550, which was under our opinion cost of about closer to 400,000. And they gave us renewals, which appeared to be very reasonable for the next 2 years. So what we've accomplished with this is that we got the bid in now, and if they perform well, we can award them the next 2 years and have to go through the expense of rebidding the project. One thing to note on this, we're gonna do about 123,000 linear feet of televising. That's about 23 miles. And we're gonna look at dealing and taking care of manholes, about 575 manholes. So it's a lot of work. Okay. Next project is the storm sewer point repair bid results. This is where we take bids on 140 unit prices, everything that we can think of that you would run into on a point repair project, everything from different sizes of pipe to different restoration requirements, even as far as having a plumber come in and check out somebody's lateral. So we have prices for everything. We don't anticipate spending this $1,064,000. We won't nearly get to that number. It's just that's reflective of all those unit prices. We like the contractor. They've had the contract for the past several years, Neendo. They came in within our opinion of cost and well under the next 2 bidders that we received prices from. They gave reasonable renewal numbers, again, that would allow us to keep them for the next 3 years if they do well. So this is a good result. The next one is the normal lining project that we do. This is our O and M line where we go in and we just take different segments of line and line, or different segments of pipe and we line them. We've been doing that consistently over several years. Our opinion of cost on this, it was 1,295. It came in at less at 1,167. This is about 4.5 miles of sewer that we'll be lining. And between this and the next project I'm going to talk about, we have approximately 40% of the entire system will be new. So that's pretty monumental. I mean, when you think about our
Yeah.
system is 800,000 linear feet of system, and we got about, well, after these projects, we'll have about 324,000 linear feet of that complete. So slow and steady wins the race, as I say all the time. It's a good way to do it. The next one up is the corrective action work. And that was the low bidder on that was also Jet Jack. Again, they have a really good familiarity with our system. They're located right down here in Presto if we have a problem. And you know, they gave us a good number. They're 300,000 below the next low bidder. You can see we had a total of 4 bids on this, so we're happy about this one. This one is the selective lining. We're gonna do, the project includes lining, repairs. We have to do post CCTVs, internal restatement of laterals, cutting and protruding of taps, sewer manhole rehabilitation, are the major bid items to this. But we're gonna do about another 5.4 miles of pipe that we would be working on and 340 manholes. And recall that we did the first project last year with in situ form, which I think was right around the same number. So with our Gold Line Standards projects, the two of them combined are about 4.8 million, which is less than the 6 I think that we originally projected. So I think that's all good. At the end of both these projects, we'll be in a position where we can do our monitoring and then submit the results to the regulators. So we're right on track, and I think we're out ahead of things because a lot of other people, this is the first time people are actually going out and trying to get other work done from other municipalities to comply with the order. So that's good.
And before you move on.
Yes, sir.
Include road grant funding. At this point, do we have a percentage guess on what?
It's a minimum of 15%. It can go as high as 85%. I'd say we've been in the range of 15 to 20% mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it is, and I mean, Dennis lives for these grow grants. He does such a good job. I wouldn't have the patience. There's a lot of paperwork involved, as anything with Alcosan. That's why you have another one on the agenda tonight for resolution. And then, lastly, the Beg Snyder project. This is the smaller project that we're put out on the table to be done. If you recall, we got a small sewer and water grant to take care of most of this, and then the GROW grant is gonna finish up the project first. So this is a completely grant-funded project, which is always good to get. Moranti is the low bidder. We have familiarity with Moranti as a contractor. He's located right over on Streets Run Road, so he's not that far away. He's done a number of projects in the municipality before, so I think he'll do a good job. This one is a little bit of reconstruction of the pipes. We're gonna do a lot of lining and a lot of work on manholes. And again, we hope to get some significant I&I reduction at this location. So all in all, very pleased with the bids. I give credit to the team that got them all out to bid early. Getting out early is always a good thing. Get your best numbers. The contractors line up their work, so thumbs up to everybody.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I love fully paid projects. Great.
Yeah, and I'm not taking it for granted, but I assume that all the money will come from the sanitary sewer fund or the storm sewer fund and we'll be good.
Right.
So the commission will see all of these with agenda items on their first regular meeting in January, on the January 14th.
That's for me.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Boards and authorities.
We have plenty of time because we missed it the last time. so.
I know. I'm looking at you,
Oh, thank you very much.
so you can start.
All right, Mertz met and approved the budget for 2025. Mount Lebanon asked to have a study done to do a full evaluation of how we can do how any service, ambulance service can be done better. And that's $60,000 and that request for quotes going out soon. But that will help. It's a good way to just make sure we're doing the right thing in running the ambulance service. So that was something that Mount Lebanon asked for as part of the budget process.
Outreach.
Uh,
They met.
They met, but I'm trying to think of anything that I would come back and say, because they were here for budget time, so I'm just
They
trying to
were,
think of
right.
what beyond budget time, other things obviously going well. So nothing dramatic to report. The planning meeting for planning board, this coming planning board meeting has been canceled because there's nothing to review.
Right.
So there's no planning board meeting coming up December 17th.
Historical.
And then, you know,
Historical Society.
Historical Society, let's see, Amanda Gillen is finishing up her term as chair. And so we have someone else who's stepping up. She's going to be Alyssa Jones. She's going to be the chair for 2025. And remains an energetic group. They're working with Rodney on some work with their second floor roof balcony. And that seems to be making progress. There's a delay in getting some information from the architect who's volunteered his time. But we think that the architect's written something that Rodney will be satisfied with. And hopefully that'll be an answer, at which point then funds can proceed to be spent.
Any questions on the roof? No? Okay. Jeffrey, you're up.
I was just trying to find my notes, or the minutes from the last resiliency board. And I couldn't, but if I recall, we are still, there's still still working through some details. I mean, we've worked into our 3 separate sort of subgroups, but that has proven to a little bit tricky. I know Andrew and I have a meeting this week to see, to figure out logistically how to make sure that all those sort of subcommittees have what they need, but there's the preservation subcommittee, which just did some work on section 106.
Yeah.
And so that was a success. And then we've got the partnership is coming soon to present on some suggested design issues for Uptown.
Design guidelines?
Yes, some design guidelines. Exactly. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I can't think what else right now, but
Guidelines tied to the facade grant money?
yes.
Okay.
That's correct. And then maybe a discussion about going further than that.
Because it is a historic district, so
Correct.
I think you can, if you really want to.
I would like to.
Cool.
If I may, Finance Board, 3 members of the board attended the budget session in
Yeah.
November, and we have a meeting coming up on Wednesday.
Commissioner Gabriella?
Parks and Rec meets on the 18th, so next week, and school liaison, we did not meet this last week. So I'll meet her on Friday and have an update on both for next week.
Okay, cool. Andrew,
The mobility board is moving forward very well. They continue to meet on a variety of fronts. First and foremost, to raise to your attention is that you will be receiving in the near future, not sure exactly when, but they did pass a item for commission consideration that is around a tactical urbanism street design program. It still is in development, right? And my recommendation to them was that it should not be, locked down that, it can't be changed, because the reality is that staff and our solicitor and others will need to opine on this to make sure it works. So the intent and the general framework should be, good enough. Don't overthink it. So they are packaging that up. They did a lot of great work on that. So they're packaging it up and you will be getting that. And we continue to hear lots of residents who come to every meeting concerned about Kelso, concerned about
Like what?
Lakemont Academy. I mean, the list always continues. So we are trying to focus on how do we improve, kind of the tracking of that and, make sure that we are engaging as effectively as possible without, overcommitting, because again, staff resources are finite. So understanding how to move these topics forward, in an efficient and reasonable way, but recognizing constraints that we have. All in all, mobility is going very well. Connect continues to work. Please, of course.
How's the transition from when it was just traffic board to, as far as people making complaints or questions and such, is that kind of transitioning okay?
Yeah, no, we haven't had any complaints, in that respect. People come to complain about, traffic and traffic safety. The process, we assign one board member to be the liaison to the, traffic adjudication or the parking ticket adjudication. And that, what I understand, everything's fine.
Great.
No one has complained. So Connect continues to move forward again in the region, trying to wrap up, the year. Lots of things are going on with Connect, working on, again, still the solar work is happening at the regional level, trying to push all of the solar PPA initiative forward. I won't bore you with all the details just yet. There's still a lot of just moving pieces, trying to bed that down. The Connect is doing a well-being symposium. Again, one of the challenges, obviously, in every municipality, but in this region as well, is that, we struggle with, staff retention, and making sure that we are, taking care of these folks who are, often very under-resourced in this region and trying to do the best for their communities. So trying to make sure that they have resources that support them. So that is something that Connect is working on to, resource them. The LEAD programs are going fantastic. They continue to be very positive. So that's the law enforcement assisted diversion programs that Connect is supporting. Those are going very well. We are actively pursuing funding from a variety of philanthropic organizations, grant programs, and others. So Connect continues to thrive and contemplate growth in a variety of fronts. So Connect is good. I think that's all I've got.
Civic engagement. The Civic Engagement Board has planned a day of volunteerism for MLK Day. They're going to work in conjunction with the school district to see if we can pair teenage volunteers with volunteers from the community to do work for not-for-profits that are in the community. So that's ongoing. They're very enthusiastic and working hard. We'll see how that turns out. Residence Academy, starting in January, is completely full and has a waiting list. It's a very popular program. And oftentimes what comes out of it are more volunteers, which is a nice thing. They learn all about the community and then can make some choices about where they want to spend their volunteer time. The notification has gone out for people to nominate a volunteer citizen of the year. So bear that in mind if you guys know of anyone. And I heard rave reviews, Chief Haberman, about the police meeting with the faith leaders and that ongoing work, which we're grateful that you take the time to do those things. We're very pleased with that. So thank you very much. Library board, as usual, ta-da, doing fabulously. Waiting to see what plans Draw Collective makes for doing some improvements to the children's library area, which will be great. Otherwise, it's going along swimmingly. Yeah, am I missing anything that I should bring up? Okay.
I would say, I was remiss, I did not mention, partnership had a strategic planning offsite well,
Yeah.
offsite, actually in this room. Friday, last Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, multiple hours, kind of just kind of rethinking, doing a lot of brainstorming, where are we trying to go as an organization? The Main Street designation is wrapping up, so there will be a reapplication for the Main Street designation. So this was kind of time to refresh the strategic plan. I attended remotely, and only part of the time. Pat is there, so Pat, you know, might, if you have questions, talk to Pat, because I wasn't able to really fully engage. But sounds like everybody was very happy with the progress, and I honestly, partnership is doing fantastic work. In the last few years, things have really been accelerating, so I expect many more good things
Yeah.
next year.
No, I think they do a great job.
Yeah, speaking of the partnership and everybody that was involved in Saturday's event, that was
Home
outstanding.
run, wasn't it?
Outstanding.
I couldn't
Ton of
believe it.
vendors, huge crowds, it was
I know,
wonderful.
people
The
spilling out into the street essentially. I mean,
Leadspire
so
Partnership, municipal
Yeah.
employees, just a really wonderful event,
It
so.
really was. And the weather gods were with us once again. I was like, oh my gosh, planning an event outside in December. Woo,
Great.
it was great. Okay, I think that's it. We have a few minutes to spare. See you in chambers at 8. Chief Haberman,